Hey everybody, this is my 20 long open-topped office tank, and I'm deciding whether or not I want to do a water change tonight. I think I'm probably going to wind up just topping it off, but I'm not sure at the moment. And that kind of brings me to a point I've been wanting to make recently, and that is about whether or not we should really do 10% weekly and 25% monthly water changes. It's a video I want to talk a little bit more in length about, but tonight we are just going to talk about this tank and whether or not it really needs a water change. The last water change I did was probably about 10 days ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm not entirely sure. But I have topped the water off since the last water change. But this tank is open top, it's got an air stone, it's got plants, and it's kept very warm. So I lose a lot of water to evaporation out of this tank, and topping it off once or twice in between water changes is not that unusual. So I think tonight what we're going to rely on to decide whether or not it really needs a water change is we're going to do a nitrate test. I kind of keep on top of that with this tank anyway because of this German blue ram you can see back there. Kind of doing an ongoing, not really experiment, but I'm kind of keeping an eye on the nitrates in this tank to see whether or not these German blue rams really are as sensitive to nitrates as everybody says they are, and so far they do not seem to be. So as long as the nitrates aren't getting too out of control in this tank, I'm not going to worry too much about it. I know there's no ammonia or nitrite or anything like that, so just topping the water off will probably be just fine. Now, I do need to do a little filter maintenance. You can see how low the water flow is. That's turned all the way up, and we're still getting a little bit of dripping like that. So I will get in there and replace the filter pad. I will probably clean out the biosponge a little bit, and the filter intake on this, the plastic tube usually gets clogged up on this one, so I have to take that one off and run some hot water through, get it opened up, maybe even take a small bottle brush and run it down through there, and we will get that cleaned up and good water flow again, so on and so forth. So let me get in there and check the nitrates, and once we see what the nitrates look like, we'll go ahead and decide whether or not we're going to do a water change. So sit tight, give me a minute to do that, and in the meantime you can consider this your before. And there's your after. So I did opt for just doing a top off today. I didn't do an actual water change. The filter was really gunked up. I get that white water mold that grows in the plastic tubing. I've talked about that before. I'm not really going to get into it now, but it's harmless. It just gets gunked up in the plastic. It doesn't really spread out around throughout the tank, as you can see. So it's nothing I'm particularly concerned about. It's just when I do a filter change and when I get in there and clean it, it's just a little tiny bit of extra maintenance. I just have to pull that plastic tube out, take it in the other room with me and give it a good rinse under hot water and get all the gunk that collects in there knocked loose and rinse down the drain, pop it back in, and we're good to go. So we've got a decent water flow coming out of the filter. I topped the water off, and I did so because the nitrates were sitting right around 40 parts per million, and I know this is not going to come out. I've already looked. It's not going to come out very well on camera, but this is what the nitrates look like before I added water to the tank. So when the water level was way down here, that's what our nitrates are. But remember, these are measured in parts per million, so it's the amount of concentration. I added 4 gallons or 20% of this tank's volume of fresh water back in. So that diluted this. So we went from above 40 parts per million to below 40 parts per million, and I know they pretty much look identical. Admittedly, on camera especially, they look identical, but they are different. They are definitely, one is redder and the other is oranger. So we've gone from slightly above 40 parts per million to slightly below 40 parts per million, and that's just fine with me. As long as we sit right around there and I don't get up too much higher than that, then I'm not worried about it. Some of my more neglected tanks probably get up closer to 80 parts per million between water changes, but this is one of my more attended to tanks, and that's mainly because I have it set up the way I do. It's open top. As we discussed earlier, I lose a lot of water to evaporation. It sort of forces me to get in here and do a lot more maintenance on it. Plus, it's one that I sit right next to here in the office, so I spend an awful lot of time right next to this tank. And when the water level gets low and I can hear that trickling water dripping off the filter, it's just a constant reminder that I need to pay attention to this tank. So I've been staying on top of this tank more so than others, but we're going to let it ride tonight. I got other stuff to do. I already feel like I've wasted too much time shooting this video, so we're going to call it good. I'm going to say thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. You don't want to miss anything I got coming up. I've got lots of different stuff on my mind, and it's just a matter of time before I get a chance to sit down and put it all in video. So if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of those videos or anything else. And don't forget, this one, of course, is my 20-gallon open-topped office tank. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.